All right, we're back with another session of the Coach's Call, and I'm here again with Roland and Brian. And we wanted to talk about we were musing about what happens on the field or on the ice or on the court. But lately it seems, and for a while, um, we're talking about athletes off the court, off the ice, off the field, right? Like in the news and stuff like that's been going on. And I guess, you said to me, Brian, earlier, you said, Kyrie, have you followed the Kyrie stuff? And I said, you know what, I really haven't. I haven't followed it. And it's just, I don't know why I haven't followed it. It's just like, oh, I don't want to hear another one. And maybe that's it. Maybe you nailed it. I was like, I just don't want to hear another one of those stories. I want to know, just want to watch the game, right? I want the
Exactly.
result. I want the enjoyment of the stats. And I'm like, hey, what happened with Kyrie? What was going on there? You know? Um, so I don't know. I don't know what you guys think, but that and I'm just saying that one, there's the other thing that happened with the Boston Bruins and was it Miller?
Mitchell Miller.
Mitchell Miller? And then that sort of kicked into some of the, brought old stories up from other players as well. But
Well, it's still, and come back. And when I was trying to catch sports highlights when I was away on vacation, and what seemed to dominate rather than, finding the scores and finding how the teams were doing, over the last few weeks, and you may have talked about it while I was away, but just all the fiasco going on with the Hockey Canada stuff, right? And the World Juniors and those players, right? So it's just,
yeah,
it
Yeah.
just seems to me that we've gotten away in the sports. When I turn on Sportsnet or TSN and I'm expecting to see highlights, I'm finding the lead stories are more about what Kyrie Irving's doing with anti-Semitism talk, and who he's getting angry with, getting into feuds with Shaq and other players, and then the Mitchell Miller fiasco, and then the whole Hockey Canada. It's just, maybe it's a sign of the times just for a period of time, but I yearn for us to get back to just hearing sports scores and watching highlights and not seeing all the behavioral issues of athletes that many of us look up to, and certainly a lot of kids look up to. And I often wonder how are kids seeing this in their through their eyes and their lens, seeing all these athletes that they put on a pedestal, and then hearing all these stories of things they're doing. So
Yeah.
it's funny that you say that because and I didn't cover any of that. And I had a couple of people actually message me and say, "Hey, are you going to cover what's going on in Hockey Canada? Or with all the sponsorships?" And I said, "No, I'm not going to. I'm not going to do a show on that. Why not? Just, you know what? It's flooded the media,
yeah,
and it's just not that I don't want to, give it attention or talk about it and say, oh, can we make a difference? And sure, I want to make a difference, but it's just so darn depressing, right? Like,
and it took so long to get to the end game where and that seems to be a bit of a theme with certainly with the leadership in Hockey Canada, with Mitchell Miller, with Kyrie Irving, having the opportunities to make things right, but not a willingness. Mitchell Miller never reached out, never apologized to the young player that, or the young
yeah,
kid that he offended. Kyrie Irving refused to acknowledge or say, "I'm not anti-Semitic," and
Right.
acknowledge that the Holocaust happened. Like it just, and the leadership of Hockey Canada hung on. They were,
But
kind of reminded me of a Republican ex-president.
we're not
I'm
letting
not
go.
going. I'm
We're
not
not letting
going.
go. We're
Right.
not
So
that
going.
was unbelievable. I watched a little bit of it on TV where they had the acting director answering questions. I think she went before Parliament, and she was saying, "We're fine. Everybody's fine here. We're doing a
Yeah.
great job." And I'm watching. I'm going, "What are you talking about? Like, what are you? Are you with the rest of us here? There's in such a bubble that they don't see it, and it's like." And then I think after that, they all started resigning because
yeah,
what came out of that whole scenario was like, what did she say? What did she do? And everybody started to resign, and I think they all resigned. But we still don't have answers. We
Yeah.
still don't have. Nobody's been held accountable. Who did all this stuff? Do you know the players that were involved? We don't know. Nobody knows anything.
The other thing, there are a couple points I wanted to make, and one is the thing that I take a little comfort in is the fact that the fan base and people are not taking it anymore,
Yeah.
demanding accountability, which is great. But the really interesting thing I heard about the Hockey Canada one was if it wasn't for a little tip that came to an excellent reporter, and we've talked about him before because he covered the I forget the player's name, but the whole Chicago Blackhawks issue. Rick Westhead is the
Right.
reporter.
Yeah.
Right.
And he seems to for whatever reason get into all this kind of stuff. He got a tip about what happened with the World Juniors, and he was the one that kind of opened up the can of worms, and which was good. And if he hadn't, a lot of this would have just been swept under the rug and never would have happened. Now, some might say, that would have been better because hockey's been put under the magnifying glass and it's not fair to all the other players just because of the actions of a few. But I think it's important that it came out because the people that are doing this stuff have to be held accountable.
Yeah.
You know what it is, Brian? Like when I hear stuff like that and you go, better off they wouldn't have said anything. But maybe your kid's not there, but somebody's kid is.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, and when did we stop caring? Like, when did it become, well, it's not my kid, so I don't care, but somebody's kid is involved in that. Like and we keep tossing the salad here a little bit and kind of going Kyrie Irving, Hockey Canada, Mitchell Miller. Like when I heard the Mitchell Miller thing, my first reaction was like, and I didn't know anything about the story. I really didn't. I was ignorant to the whole story. And I was like, he was 14. They're going after this kid now. He's 20. He's 20 and he was 14. But then when you go, well, wait, this wasn't just he was 14. This went on for years.
Yeah.
Right. But then it's not just, okay, well, the kid did it for years, right? There's other people around that kid at that age. Where were they? Where were the other people? Like we talk about accountability. At 14, should he know right from wrong? He should know enough of right from wrong, but what guidance does he have? Who else saw what? What were they doing? And then, Brian, here we are. What are we doing? We're talking about the game off the ice.
Yep.
We're caught. We just did it just now. We're caught.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's true. The other one I wanted to bring up was the football one that kind of took over the last 3-4 weeks, and that's Brady and his stuff off the field. What have we been hearing for 3-4 weeks? I've never seen a divorce go through so quickly.
Yeah.
Like, boom.
No, it's sad. It's sad. I was talking to someone about this the other day, and it's interesting you brought up Brady. We remember when Gretzky retired, and he said, you know what, he was doing good, and he was the top of the world. He didn't go after his best season, but he was playing well, and he decided, I'm not at the level, and he retired. And
Right.
It went out with great fanfare, and Gretzky is still revered as one of the best, and went out sort of at the top of his game. Brady had the chance to be a legend. He retired. He'd taken his team to the mountaintop. Everything was great. He was the GOAT.
Yep.
He announces he's retiring. His wife's happy. The family's, everything's good. And then he changes his mind and he comes back, and his game's tanking. His team is tanking, and his whole family life just tanking. And it's what a difference a decision makes. He could have been at the pinnacle and totally revered, and now he goes out in a bit of a raceless fashion.
I just thought he was gonna retire and unretire again. So so like last retired, not retired, not
it's kind of like the Who concert. When Hell Freezes, or the Eagles. Hell Freezes over.
Yeah,
hey, Eagles, it's our last concert, but we're coming back next year. But that's our last concert.
But we're coming back. I don't know, guys. We're going around on this, and we see how we see how the one negative story pulls on the other negative story. You talked about Mitchell Miller. You talked about how, or you started to, about how that sort of made the Logan Mailloux stuff resurface,
Yep.
and we said, hey, not apples to apples, still fruit, still in the fruit category when you're making the comparisons. But we get stuck in the drama off the court, off the ice, off the field more than anything else. And these folks have lives, personal lives. Are they accountable as public figures in that scenario? I don't know. I still think part of it, they still have to have a personal part of their life if they can. But I'm like you, Brian, I'd rather hear more about, let's focus on the stats. Let's focus on the things that are happening on the ice. And I know they're going to have lives off the ice, but I don't know how much I need to know about it or how it's going to change my day or theirs.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Roll.
I was going to say, as a kid, like we didn't have access, the
None.
stuff we have now. I couldn't wait for the next day to get the paper at home so I could check the stats. We would get the scores. Like we would, local TV way up north, we would go, yeah, Montreal won 5-2 last night. And then they would move on. I'm going, well, what happened? Who scored? And the next day we'd get and I'd go through the paper, all the games, all the players, they'd have their 20 little players that leading the league in scoring. And that's what I would look at. That's all. Yeah.
We were starved for in sport action news, and all this other stuff was behind the scenes. Well, I don't know, guys. For now, I think that's the coach's call on that. Let's see what happens the rest of the season. Hopefully we can stick to in-game action. We could talk more about that.
Sounds good.